I will call the second meeting of the Blue Spring City Council meeting on April 21st to order. First item on the agenda is administering the oath of office to the council members from the election in April. We're going to go in district order, so we will start with District 1, Galen Erickson. If you will follow the city clerk down to take your oath of office.
Can I go the other way?
You go whichever way you would like.
I Galen Erickson, do solemnly swear and affirm that I possess the qualifications prescribed by law for the office for council member of District 1. I support constitutions of the United States and the state of Missouri, the provisions of the City of Blue Springs Home Rule Charter and state statutes, and the ordinances of the City of Blue Springs. I shall faithfully conduct myself in office and respect the confidences and information which come into my possession.
Next up is District 2. Katie Tholen will come down and take her oath of office.
It's a mom look.
They want us out of the way.
I, Katie Tholen, do solemnly swear and affirm that I possess the qualifications prescribed by law for the office of council member for District 2. I support the constitutions of the United States and the state of Missouri, the provisions of the City of Blue Springs Home Rule Charter and state statutes, and the ordinances of the City of Blue Springs. I shall faithfully conduct myself in office and respect and the confidences and information which come into my possession.
Next up is District 3, Mr. Jeremy Rowan. If you will come down and take your oath of office. Your family is welcome to join you as well.
I, Jeremy Rowan, do solemnly swear and affirm that I possess the qualifications prescribed by law for the office of council member for District 3. I support the Constitution of the United States and the state of Missouri, the provisions of the City of Blue Springs Home Rule Charter and state statutes, and ordinances of the City of Blue Springs. I shall faithfully conduct myself in office and respect the confidences and information which come into my possession. Thank you.
All right, thank you. We'll give a moment to let everybody get settled. Okay. Next item on the agenda is confirmation of a quorum for meeting 2.
Councilmember Kaler.
Present.
Tholen. Present. Rummel.
Present.
Erickson.
Present.
Edmondson.
Here.
Rowan.
Here.
Mayor Levesey.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Next is the consent agenda. I have a request from Councilmember Brummel to pull item D. Can I have a motion to approve the remaining consent agenda?
So move.
Second.
Do I need to not pull item D or just allow for comment?
That's fine if you'd like to.
Okay. Never mind. Let's just approve. I believe Councilman Brummel just wants to make a comment on item D, so let's motion to approve the entire consent agenda.
So move.
Second.
All right, any discussion? This would be the part where you would make comments, Councilmember Brummel.
Fantastic. No, I just wanted to point out how important it is for being on boards and commissions and how many people we've got new folks coming on to this, and it's just great to see people getting involved and us getting new people involved and then reappointing some great people as well. So I just wanted to make sure we pointed that out.
Yes, if continue to spread the word to anybody that's participating now or hasn't passed, we could use additional people involved in boards and commissions. Councilmember Brummel, as being modest, he started out with the Park Commission and did a wonderful job there, and so has now joined the City Council. So lots of opportunity to be involved. If you're interested in doing some things in the community, that's a great place to start. So good comments. Any additional comments on the consent agenda? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
No, I'm sorry, this is a roll call.
Councilmember Kaler.
Aye.
Tholen. Aye. Rummel.
Aye.
Erickson.
Aye.
Edmondson.
Aye.
Rowan.
Aye.
Mayor Levesey.
Aye.
Carried unanimously.
Next is item 5, the election of Mayor Pro Tempore. I have a request from Councilmember Erickson to make some comments.
Well, first of all, I'd like to say I'm going to nominate Councilmember Jerry Kaler for this position, but I would also like to say, unfortunately, Representative Fowler's not here, but the last time Jerry was a Mayor Pro Tem, he only got 10 months. So we're gonna try to work that out. You're just gonna have to work harder. So-
Yes, I was cheated.
Yes, you were. So that was in 2020 for everybody that
Yeah, it
doesn't
did take a
know.
global pandemic
Yeah,
to
it
cheat him
was-
out of a
it
couple
was-
months,
It was
but
tough.
sure.
But all that being said, I would like to formally nominate Councilmember Kaler for Mayor Pro Tem.
Second.
Motion from Councilmember Erickson. I have a second from Councilmember Edmondson. Is there any discussion on the nomination of Councilmember Kaler for Mayor Pro Tem?
Just don't
Cheryl,
bring back-
now's the time to talk if you've got anything you want to disclose.
Yeah, I didn't limit it to council discussion, so.
Did you bring your notes?
Well, it sounds like we have a motion and a second. I have no further discussion. Is this a voice vote? Okay, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed, no? By acclamation, congratulations, Councilmember Kaler, or shall I say Mayor Pro Tem Kaler?
Thank you.
All right.
Do I make a speech?
If you had one
No.
prepared,
No.
now is the time. All right, next item on the agenda is a public hearing for the Blue Springs High School rezoning. The city clerk reads some items into the record.
Mayor, the city has one exhibit to enter into the record. City Council information form dated April 15th, 2025 with the following attachments. Staff report with attachments, application with attachments, affidavit of publication in the Examiner on March 29th, 2025, 185-foot notification map, names, addresses of property owners within 185 feet of the site, copy of letters sent to said property owners, Title IV Land Use Section Blue Springs Code of Ordinances by reference, 2014 Comprehensive Plan by reference, bill approving rezoning of Lot 4 Blue Springs High School Harvest Edition, and bill approving the final plat of Blue Springs High School Harvest Edition. This is all we have to enter for the record.
Staff, if you'll be sworn in.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I do.
Staff, proceed.
Chantel Fry, Associate Planner on behalf of the city, 903 West Main Street. Mayor and council members, before you this evening is a request for a rezoning and a final plat for the Blue Springs High School located at 901 Northwest 19th Street. The current property includes the one parcel, which is approximately 4.93 acres plus or minus, and is currently zoned as the residential estate RE. The first request is to rezone the property from an RE to a single-family SF7 with a PD. Let me pull this. The 2014 comprehensive plan included in the subject property is as neighborhoods, which is defined as areas for residential living arranged in a connected pattern of streets, and blocks to provide access to civic and neighborhood amenities. The comp plan also states that areas designated as a neighborhood should also have connections to gathering places of gathering places of neighborhood center to meet daily needs. The intent of the PD zoning district is to encourage unique and highly qualified or high quality developments. The site is required as a planned development as part of the campus plan for the Blue Springs High School, and since all 3 lots included in the campus are greater of 30 acres and the building type is a prominent civic, this is required. The Blue Springs School District acquired Lot 4 from the Calvary Baptist Church under the condition that the church was to be torn down with the fear of public safety and was allowed to demo at that time with the intent, and the school district made a promise of coming back to replat this property into the Blue Springs overall campus. And this is because the current code does not allow as a parking lot to be a sole use on a parcel property. So rezoning it to the SF7 and then a replat would allow this to all be under the one campus. The second request is for the final plat which would cover the entire 4.93 acres plus or minus of Lot 4. The applicant is not proposing any new structures on Lot 4 and will still be the existing parking lot and will remain unchanged. The existing roadway network of Northwest Ashton Drive and Northwest 19th Street is adequate to accommodate the traffic generated by this current use. ADA compliant sidewalks already currently exist on Northwest Ashton Drive and Northwest 19th Street, and the public stormwater improvements are not required for this project, as there will be no increase in the site's total impervious area. Staff reviewed the rezoning request under the 9 review criteria under the staff report and finds that the request is in accordance with the comprehensive plan. The property has to be rezoned to include into the plan development for the Blue Springs High School campus. Based on this review criteria, staff recommends approval of the rezoning. Staff reviewed the final plat under the 6 criteria included in the staff report. The final plat is in substantial compliance with the proposed preliminary plat, considering the lot layout and access. Staff recommends approval of the final plat with 2 conditions. I would be happy to answer any questions, and we also have the applicant present.
Any questions for staff from the council? Okay. Any comments before I go to the public? Is there anyone in the audience would like to speak in support of this proposal? Okay. Come up, give us your name and address for the record, and make your comments.
Chris Koch, Hollis & Miller Architects, on behalf of the Blue Springs School District, 1828 Walnut Street. I am the
You'll need to
applicant.
be sworn in,
Oh,
I'm
yes.
sorry. Yep.
I do, thank you. Thank you, council members. I know I've been up here several times over the past 7 or so years for the high school projects. Chantel has given you a basis of why we're here today. It's basically a formality of the rezone to get it included with the rest of the high school plat. At the time when we did the last project in 2020, there was every effort made to purchase this property then, but a price could not be agreed upon until about a year ago, and at which point the school district opted to purchase the property. Through the past presentations, we've discussed several times of why the challenges that we've always faced with this high school. It is the largest in Missouri, but it only sits on 38 acres, which is about a third of what peer high schools sit on in their campuses. So just having this property to allow for more breathing space for this campus is a benefit to the school district and the community. At the moment, the school district has no plans for this site other than just leaving the parking lot that already exists. The church has already been demolished, and no other improvements are proposed at this time other than wrapping up some grass seeding and silt fence that still needs to be removed. We've had some difficulties with the contractor, but we are making that promise to make sure that's corrected soon. And I can take any questions from you all or the audience.
Any questions for the applicant? Okay, thank
Thank
you
you.
for your comments. Does anyone else in the audience like to speak in support of? Anyone speak in opposition to? Any other comments from the council before we close the public hearing? We will close the public hearing. Next is item 7, introduction reading of Bill 5307, approving the Blue Springs High School rezoning.
I'll introduce it.
First reading of Bill 5307, an ordinance rezoning property from SF7 Single Family District to SF7 PD Single Family District Plan Development.
Do I have a motion for approval?
Move to approve the first reading and proceed to the second reading.
Second.
All right, any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Motion passes second reading.
Second reading Bill 5307, an ordinance rezoning property from SF7 Single Family District to SF7 PD Single Family District Plan Development.
Move to approve the second reading and provide the proper ordinance number.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Councilmember Tholen.
Aye.
Brummel.
Aye.
Erickson.
Aye.
Edmondson.
Aye.
Rowan.
Aye.
Kaler.
Aye.
Mayor Levisay.
Aye.
Carried unanimously and given ordinance number 5410.
Next is item 8, introduction reading of Bill 5308, approving the Blue Springs High School final plat.
I'll introduce it.
First reading Bill 5308, an ordinance approving the final plat for Blue Springs High School Harvest Edition.
Move to approve the first reading and proceed to the second reading.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Motion carries second reading.
Second reading of Bill 5308, an ordinance approving the final plat for Blue Springs High School Harvest Edition.
Move to approve the second reading and provide the proper ordinance number.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Councilmember Brummel.
Aye.
Erickson.
Aye.
Edmondson.
Aye.
Rowan.
Aye.
Kaler.
Aye.
Tholen.
Aye.
Mayor Levisay.
Aye.
Carried unanimously and given ordinance number 5411.
Next is item 9, a public hearing for Asphaltic Services General Development Plan. The city clerk has items to read into the record.
Mayor, the city has one exhibit to enter into the record. This City Council information form dated April 15th, 2025 with the following attachments. Staff report with attachments, application with attachments, affidavit of publication in the Examiner on March 29th, 2025, 185-foot notification map, names, addresses of the property owners within 185 feet of the site, copy of letter sent to said property owners, Title 4 Land Use Section, Blue Springs Code of Ordinances by reference, 2014 Comprehensive Plan by reference, bill approving the General Development Plan, and bill approving the Conditional Use Permit. This is all we have to enter for the record.
Staff, if you'll be sworn in and make your comments.
I do. All right. Christopher Willis, 903 West Main Street, on behalf of the city. All right. Before you this evening is a request for approval of a general development plan for asphaltic services. The subject property is addressed 1050 Southwest Cemetery Road and consists of 2.18 acres. The applicant is also requesting a conditional use permit to operate their asphaltic paving contractor business, which has a building or construction contractor land use associated with it. The proposed storage of an above-ground fuel tank is an accessory use and is included in the scope of the general development plan. The fuel tank will need to be permitted separately. The general development plan and conditional use permit will be reviewed as the first applications. A preliminary plat, a site plan and design review, and final plat are required to be approved in the future, and a final plat recorded at Jackson County prior to issuance of building permits. All right. The property is located in the general business zoning district, and the proposed use of building or construction contractor with machinery, equipment, or storage requires approval of a conditional use permit in order for that business to be located within the general business zoning district. All right. Take a look at the site plan here. The proposed development is classified as a general industrial, which is defined as a building designed to accommodate light industrial or general industrial functions at a variety of scales. The development proposes an ingress and egress access point from Southwest Cemetery Road. right here as you see on the site plan. No new sidewalk will be constructed as part of this project. For the proposed use, the applicant is required approximately 8 parking spaces. The applicant is proposing 14 regular parking spaces along with an ADA space as well, and all parking stalls meet the minimum size requirements. Bicycle parking will be reviewed at the site plan and design review, which, as previously mentioned in this presentation, will come relatively soon. MoDOT will require off-site improvements in the form of an additional eastbound left turn lane on Highway 40. However, the scope of this project did not require a full traffic impact analysis. The applicant and MoDOT corresponded, and it was determined that this was not going to be required. However, MoDOT has requested that the applicant provide a memorandum which requires a site plan, traffic counts, turn lane charts, and trip generation tables and other requirements. And staff will receive notice of this once this has been submitted. Sanitary sewer is located both on the southern and eastern portion of the property, and the applicant has proposed a 15-foot sanitary sewer easement on the site plan. Which you can see goes down the eastern portion and then goes across the southern portion there. That will surround the existing sanitary sewer line on the eastern and southern property. Just wanted to go over the landscaping plan with you all. The applicant has provided a conceptual landscaping plan for the site and is being provided for concept purposes only. Additional details and plant units may be needed to meet landscaping requirements at the site plan and design review application level. And landscape requirements will be reviewed in greater detail with the PD final plan, the site plan design review with a final landscape plan. And just to go over this, on the east buffer is the highest amount of plant units for screening. There's 178 plant units. On the north buffer, the applicants proposed 145 plant units. The west buffer, 72 plant units. And then the parking lot landscaping, there will be 133 plant units total. All right. Elevations, the site includes a 2-story building. The proposed building will have a combination of stone and white metal panels. The building and site design are required to meet the non-residential design standards in the UDC, and final building and site design will be reviewed through the site plan and design review process to come. Any proposed signage will be reviewed administratively and must be required to follow the appropriate permitting process. There were 3 alternative design standards that were requested through this project. As the building type was general industrial and the base zoning was GB. The first deviation was to allow the overnight parking of company vehicles in the front and street side building. So I want to go back to the site plan to show you this. All right, so staff parking and customer parking will be in the designated parking spaces just to the west of the proposed building. Where the company vehicles and other equipment will utilize this impervious for storage. So that's the first deviation, is to allow the parking of company vehicles in the front or street side of the building. The second deviation is to allow front or street facing facade with overhead doors to face an arterial or a collector street. Let me zoom in just to give you a little better look here. So these are the overhead doors, and they do face an arterial or collector street over here off Cemetery. So that's the second deviation they've requested. Zoom back out a little bit. And then lastly, deviation to allow for the proposed storage of an above ground fuel tank, which is an accessory structure within the front or side yard setback. And as you see, this is the concrete pad of where this fuel tank will be stored. And it is not in compliance with the being in the front building, so that's where the deviation has been requested. And then there's also the conditional use permit, which requires special use standards. So let's go over the narrative. All right. The applicant, as we just went over, is requesting an alternative development standard to allow front and street facing facade with overhead doors facing an arterial and a collector. The applicant is also requesting ADS to have company vehicles parked overnight at their place. However, through the general development plan, the applicant is providing adequate parking for staff, so storage of company vehicles, equipment, and site circulation would be okay. So staff supports this deviation. Staff does not believe the allowance of overnight parking of vehicles or equipment on the street, front or street side of the building will have a negative impact on the public realm, as adjacent properties with light industrial land uses also have company vehicles that are parked overnight. And then the CUP application will allow the entire site, 1050 Southwest Cemetery Road, to be used as the building and construction contractor land use approved by this CUP and will be in conformance with the UDC. It both supports existing zoning of the property and abutting districts. And the proposed use is industrial in nature, which is in alignment with the existing uses of the neighboring properties. Staff does not anticipate negative impacts on adjacent properties. Staff recommends the approval of the CUP with 3 conditions and the general development plan with 5 conditions, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Is there any questions from the council for staff?
If I may.
Councilmember Evans.
Can you go back to the suggested building structure diagram?
Yeah, the elevations.
Where you were talking about the overhead doors and
Oh,
the
yes.
interior.
Yeah, so I can zoom in a little more.
Go to the elevation.
Okay.
So the one that was showing the actual interior.
Oh, yes, sir. Let me get back to that real quick. All right. 73. All right. Zoom out just a little bit. All right. Yes, sir. Here we are.
So the entrance then to the building is going to be facing to the north?
The entrance to the building, as drawn on this, where it says west elevation, will be facing Cemetery Road.
Okay.
The overhead doors will actually be facing
40 highway?
yes, westbound 40 highway.
Westbound.
So
Okay.
Chris accidentally misspoke.
Okay,
and
that's
so
kind of what this looked like, but it seemed like you were pointing that it was actually facing Cemetery Road, which I was confused.
Yes, I apologize for that.
Okay, thank you. That's all I
Yep.
wanted to know.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions from the council for staff?
Yeah,
Mr.
I
Mallon.
did have one other thing I would like to point out, that one of the conditions, condition number 3, under the condition use permit on page 97 of the overall packet, the applicant has requested, should this get approved tonight, to temporarily store equipment and vehicles on the property for the time period of a year while they build the building. And they can explain a little bit more, but it's to help consolidate a number of properties that they're currently renting or have a lease on or that they own into this property. And so that request has been made. Staff has included a condition that says temporary storage of materials and equipment is only allowed for 1 year. The allowance of temporary storage of materials and equipment is allowed during the duration of the construction. If no certificate of occupancy is issued within 1 year from the time the conditional use permit is approved, then the temporary storage materials and equipment will no longer be allowed on the site. So staff feels that given the next set of processes that need to happen, including site plan design review, preliminary plat, final plat, and then the time to construct the building, and then get a certificate of occupancy can be accomplished in a year. At Planning Commission, the applicants did agree with that condition, so I just wanted to point that out.
I do have a question. It's noted in the packet, there was a application denied. I didn't realize it this long ago, but October of 2023. At the time, did we have the option for a conditional use permit? That was a rezoning to light industrial. Did we have the option for a conditional use permit at the time, or was that something that came after that request? Because that is reflected as a building of about this size, 6,600 square feet, a warehouse building. I just don't remember when we implemented allowing conditional use permits in general business.
Let me double check here real quick, and I will find out for you.
Sorry to ask a question you, I didn't prepare you for.
Well, that's okay. Well, I think that one came in March of '03. When did you say the?
It's reflected as October of 2023 in the packet, previous actions by the city council.
That could have been just because
Okay.
of the timing of everything.
I
And-
don't remember when we implemented the CUP for general business. So.
Yeah, I do remember it was sometime in, well, I thought it was later in 23, 24, but that was for kind of a different situation. That was being used as more of a storage yard at the
Sure.
time for quite some time illegally. And then,
That was essentially going to be my next question. Is the use of this, you feel like, less intense than what was proposed at the time?
yes, I absolutely do.
Okay.
I believe that, and the applicant could speak to this a little bit more too, they don't have any plans to store any materials necessarily on site, no asphalt materials, any of that. They're going to more so be vehicles and equipment. And I believe some of the vehicles that they described at the planning commission meeting included dump trucks, a low bed trailer to move some of their paving equipment out to the site, and things of that nature. So those vehicles would be on the north side of the building, but kind of tucked as far to the east as possible, so that potentially the landscaping and fencing would help screen that as best
And
as
with
possible.
the CUP, it maintains general business zoning.
That's
as
correct,
well.
yes,
Okay.
it does.
Okay. Any other questions for staff before we go to the applicant? Okay, is the applicant present, would like to make a presentation or present any information? Come on up. You'll need to be sworn in and give us your name and address for the record.
It's Patrick Joyce, 436 Northeast Brockton Drive, Lee Summit, Missouri.
Jacob Robbins, 920 Northeast Park Ridge Circle, Lee Summit, Missouri.
She'll swear you in.
I do.
Go ahead.
Well, good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. As I said, I'm Patrick Joyce. I'm the civil engineer for the project. We don't have a whole lot to add. I guess if there's some specific questions, we can stand for questions. Just to kind of reiterate what Mr. Mallon was saying regarding the vehicles that are going to be parked there. I think it was right. It's a low boy, basically overnight. If everybody knows what those are, the one that separates in the middle, so you can get trucks up on or vehicles up on it, and then dump trucks. So, if that's kind of essentially it. So,
Any questions for the applicant from the council? Councilmember Thole.
What's the time frame on start to finish once everything's approved?
construction time
Yep,
frame.
construction time.
What are we at, 9 months?
Yeah, we're just literally, last week we obviously got approved, and then we're just waiting for your guys' approval. And him and the architect, they're just waiting basically for me to say, go ahead, so they can start finishing the full set of drawings. So we're not gonna be like what's happened in the past with other companies, like, we're just waiting for your approval to get, to move forward. And as for the permit, it's just because I'm paying 3 different lots right now. And so I figured if we can get on that lot and, have a place to park our equipment, so I don't have to go to 3 different places every day. We have our office downtown on 908 Northwest Vesper right now. We're renting a spot there. I'm renting a spot from Flex Space and another spot, so I'm trying to get at least my equipment over to that lot, so.
And also the permitting, or can you explain the process on the tank, the gas tank? How is that gonna?
Yeah, as we understand, that's going to be a separate application.
Okay.
I don't know many details about it other than that. I don't know that I'll even need to be involved, but it's just an application that they'll make, and it'll go through the review process. And
Basically, that's like.
Can you use the mic when you're talking to be easy? Yeah.
Yeah, basically at my old site, we had 2 tanks, one for off-road, one for on-road diesel, with 7 dump trucks and a low boy. So it's just basically easier to get in and out there than trying to go into a gas station. And it is, where it is setting on there, it is past the code. I mean, I think the fire thing has to be 50 feet away from the building, so we're clearly that far away from it, so.
Any other questions for that? Councilmember Edmondson.
So, how many employees, well, you're consolidating locations, what are we looking at as far as number of employees coming to this location?
We have a total of 25. We have 6 office staff with me and salesmen, and then so basically, if everything's there, the building's built. I mean, the crew will come there. They'll park their cars. They'll go out company vehicles. The lowboy and dump trucks, they won't be coming in and out all day. I mean, they're pretty much going to leave, 6, 7 in the morning, and when they come back at 6, 7 at night, I mean, that's it for the night.
Okay. All right.
Councilmember Erickson.
Could I ask staff a question? Be okay?
Yeah.
Is there any reason that we would anticipate not approving the tanks?
There are certain requirements in our code under the accessory uses for the above-ground fuel tanks specifically. There are some size limitations that potentially could request an alternative design standard or something. But if they meet all fire and building codes and setbacks and and containment and things of that nature, then there would be no reason for us to deny it.
Okay, thanks. Appreciate it.
Councilmember Kayla.
Yeah, I understand the reason, but I think it'd be good just to emphasize it a little bit. The reason that you're wanting to get a temporary, be able to park your equipment there while you're building your building is to consolidate all the buildings that you're renting and be able to put it on there. That would help you, and correct me if I'm wrong, that would help you alleviate paying for rent for other units to be able to focus back on the lot there on Cemetery. Am I correct?
Correct. And I mean, pretty much all of them combined will be what my building payment and land payment is once I'm done.
Yes, thank you.
Councilmember Baromo, okay. All right, any other discussions for the applicant? Thank you for your presentation. Sure.
Thank you.
Any other comments from the council before I go to the audience? Anyone in the audience like to speak in support of? Anyone speak in opposition to? Any other comments before I close the public hearing? I'll close the public hearing. Next is item 10, introduction and reading of Bill 5309, approving the general development plan for asphaltic surfaces.
I'll introduce it, Your Honor.
First reading of Bill 5309, an ordinance approving the general development plan with alternative development standards located at 1050 Southwest Cemetery Road.
Move to approve the first reading and proceed to the second.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed, no? Motion carries. Second reading.
Second reading of Bill 5309, an ordinance approving the general development plan with alternative development standards located at 1050 Southwest Cemetery Road.
Your Honor, move to approve the second reading and provide the proper ordinance number.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Councilmember Erickson.
Aye.
Edmondson.
Aye.
Rowan.
Aye.
Kaler.
Aye.
Tholen.
Aye.
Rummel.
Aye.
Mayor Levisay.
Aye.
Carried unanimously and given ordinance number 5412.
Next is item 11, introduction and reading of Bill 5310, approving the conditional use permit for asphaltic surfaces.
I'll introduce it, Your Honor.
First reading of Bill 5310, an ordinance approving the conditional use permit to allow the building or construction contractor with machinery, equipment, and storage land use in the GB General Business Zoning District located at 1050 Southwest Cemetery Road.
Your Honor, move to approve the first reading and proceed to the second.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed, no? Motion carries. Second reading.
Second reading of Bill 5310, an ordinance approving the conditional use permit to allow the building or construction contractor with machinery, equipment, and storage land use in the GB General Business Zoning District located at 1050 Southwest Cemetery Road.
Your Honor, move to approve the second reading and provide the proper ordinance number.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Councilmember Edmondson.
Aye.
Rowan.
Aye.
Kaler.
Aye.
Tholen.
Aye.
Rummel.
Aye.
Erickson.
Aye.
Mayor Levisay.
Aye.
Carried unanimously and given ordinance number 5413.
Next is item 12, is another public hearing for 500 R.D. Mize Road. It's offices conditional use permit.
Mayor, the city has one exhibit to enter into the record, City Council Information Form dated April 15th, 2025 with the following attachments. Staff report with attachments, application with attachments, affidavit of publication in the Examiner on March 29th, 2025, 185-foot notification map, names, addresses of the property owners within 185 feet of the site, copy of letter sent to said property owners, Title IV Land Use Section, Blue Springs Code of Ordinances by reference, 2014 Comprehensive Plan by reference, and bill approving the conditional use permit. This is all we have to enter for the record.
Staff, if you'll be sworn in, make your presentation.
I did. Before you this evening is a request for approval of a conditional use permit to operate a construction/real estate company with the building or construction contractor land use associated with it. And that company is Clifton RE LLC, and they are located at 500 Northwest R.D. Mize, which is also the location of this proposed project. The city's Unified Development Code section provides special use standards for this land use classification, and these will have to be met as part of the CUP process along with the approved CUP. All right. The property is located within the general business zoning district, and the proposed building or construction contractor with machinery, equipment, or storage requires approval of a conditional use permit in order to be located at this property and within the general business zoning district. All right. Clifton Homes, Clifton RE, is a construction real estate company that provides services such as HVAC, electrical, plumbing, and general contracting. This property will be a general place of business where daily administrative duties will take place along with accounting, showrooms, meetings, and other office tasks. The applicant has stated at this time no materials, equipment, supplies, or tools will be housed at this location. However, for future uses, there may be an additional unit built to store office material, but not at this time. And the applicant has stated that no expansion of the site or building is proposed currently. The existing commercial building has a tan brick exterior facade with a blue metal roof, and it will remain as is. Again, no changes are proposed in the building form or site expansion. The site has two existing access points, one off of R.D. Mize and another one off of 5th Street. There's an existing sidewalk along the R.D. Mize frontage, and given the current CUP request is not proposing to modify the existing developed site, the construction of additional sidewalk will not be required. The applicant has provided 28 parking spaces on site, and they're only required to have 16 spaces per their parking requirement. And the applicant has stated that, again, no modifications will occur. Let me just address the narrative. Oh, that was wrong. All right. That was 9. All right. Yeah, so let's see here. The applicant has met all regulations related to the special use standards for all building and construction contractor land uses, and no deviations were requested through alternative design standards. And essentially, this CUP is to allow their essentially business type to be able to be located within a general business zoning district. They're not, it's going to be essentially office and administrative, and just given the nature of their business, they need this CUP approval to be able to be located in general business. So no site modifications, building expansions will be proposed, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions for staff from the council? Councilmember Kaler.
You stated no materials stored at this time. Makes me believe that there is going to be storage at some time?
The applicant has let us know that there may be expansion in the future and that they may potentially do that, but they have not given us a timetable or any kind of certainty as to when and if for sure that will happen. But they have stated that there's a potential for that in the future.
Well, if it's an expansion, I get there probably is an expansion of the building or some sort.
Yes, sir.
My fear is, are they going to store anything outside in this location? That's where I'm
not with the scope of this CUP, and a CUP approval would not allow them to do that.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yep.
Any additional questions from the council for staff? Councilmember Edmondson.
Footnote on that, if they did come back and want to expand the building, they would have to come back through us.
That's my understanding.
Okay.
Potentially.
Depending on the size?
Depending on the size. Right now, what's being requested is to approve the building and construction contractor with machinery storage as a land use on the property, not necessarily approving any site plans or anything. So if they wanted to add a site plan or add a building addition to the east side or the north side, and it was under a certain threshold, it may not end up coming back to city council, maybe be
administratively
could
approved?
be administrative or could have to go back to planning commission. If they started making material changes to the conditional use permit itself, then that could potentially come back to you. It kind of depends on what they want to do in the future. If they want to put in, maybe a Connex shipping container in the back that takes up a couple of parking spaces, but doesn't really have any material impact on the site as their ability to screen or conceal storage of materials, then that's something they may request to do. We just don't really know at this point.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Erickson.
Could you please restate the machinery storage part? I must have gone over the top of my head. I thought they were not going to do any of that, but then it says we're making it so they can. So are they not, or are they?
They're not planning to do anything outside of the building at this time. In fact, they're really not planning on doing anything other than office space at this time. However, given what their business type is, we thought it best to bring this forward as a conditional use permit so that if they choose to or start storing material inside the building, find that that's more advantageous for their business model, then they don't have to come back for a conditional use permit.
So clarify them, if they were not doing any machinery storage, they could just do what they need to do to make an office. Is that correct? So we're essentially giving them or asking to give them a conditional use permit so they could in the future store machinery.
Or
and
just
that would
equipment.
be inside storage.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions for staff?
So it would be inside storage, not outside storage? Because I guess I'm getting confused on inside, outside, what?
The land use just says with machinery or equipment storage. It doesn't have to say, it's not necessarily inside versus outside.
Okay.
Even if they're doing storage of material and equipment inside, it needs a conditional use permit.
Thank you.
Would outside storage of materials be beyond the conditional use permit that's being approved tonight?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
Depends on what is to be located, if they were gonna put any overhead doors in, if it wasn't going to be screened. The special use standards that we heard on the last application would all apply here as well. And so, this site does have 2 street frontages, and it's pretty visible from R.D. Mize as you head east from 7 Highway. And so there's a lot of different points at which any kind of storage would be visible from the public right of way. And so if they tried to not screen that appropriately or deviate too much from this conditional use permit, then staff would bring that back before city council to get approval.
Do they have access to that parking in the back as well, or just the parking in the front of the building?
They have parking to the front along R.D. Mize and to the rear of the south of the building off of the 5th Street entrance.
Honor.
Councilmember Kaler.
And just a follow-up question. Help me out a little bit. What if we don't do the CUP? That way they would have to come back if they ever did put them storage. They could still be in their office and do their office work and all that. And then if they ever did add on or expand or whatever, or even try to put something, store something in, then they would have to come back on that. Could we not do that?
That is certainly something that could be done, and staff definitely considered that option. Our recommendation for the conditional use permit was based upon the fact that the owner, Clifton Homes or Clifton Real Estate, has owned this building for quite a few years now, and had a pre-application meeting with staff in which they did want to store materials inside and outside. Staff became aware that they were doing so when they said they were just going to be doing office. And so because of that, staff recommended they go through with this request now, should they decide in the future to start storing materials on the inside like they had been previously.
Your Honor, then to do this, we would just not Would we have to make a motion to not do the CUP, or how would that work, Your Honor?
Generally speaking, we make a motion in the positive to approve, and then we would vote it down if you wanted to do that. I don't know that we prohibit voting or making a motion to decline something, but looking at the city attorney. The preference would be to make a motion in the positive.
So,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
City attorney. Jenny.
No, the mayor is correct. We would do that in the positive. We would vote, we'd have a motion to approve and then, and vote it down.
So,
If you didn't want to approve the CUP.
okay, so we have to then approve it or disapprove it as a package deal then, is that what you're saying?
That's how the ordinance is written. It's an ordinance approving the conditional use permit, so.
Okay, and so, but they could come back without the CUP on it and do what they're wanting to do then, at a later date, correct?
Well, if, right now, what they've proposed and what is included, do you have a copy of their floor plan in there?
Not in the packet.
So they submitted a building permit that staff has been reviewing, and the only build out on the interior portion of the property is for office space and conference rooms and a break room for employees. So it is office use, but staff was, again, thinking into the future based upon some past actions and thinking that if they wanted to use it the way that they have used it at times in the past for storage of materials, then we should do the conditional use permit now, rather than having to wait to try to catch them in the act down the road. But I can certainly understand the option that you have put forth, Councilmember Kaler, that let's just approve the office now, and if they start wanting to store things inside or outside, then they need to come back for a conditional use permit. The only difficult part of that for city staff to enforce is we don't often go back into a building 5 years from now, 2 years from now, to see if they've changed what they're doing on the inside of the building, and all of a sudden storage of materials just might show up on the inside and we would never know. So
I
it's
think
kind of
my biggest concern is the outside.
yeah, and so if the conditional use permit weren't approved tonight, then any kind of storage of any kind of materials outside of the building would not be permitted.
Correct. Okay.
Let me ask one quick clarifying question. So is a conditional use permit necessary for office use at all?
It is not.
Okay, so they could continue to do what they're planning to do without this approval, even though their use as a business could include that?
That's
If
correct.
they've indicated an office use, that's allowable in general business without a CUP?
Yes, as long as that does not change, that they keep using the building for office, and if at some point in the future they come back in to do an expansion or to propose some outside storage of materials or vehicles or things like that, then that's where we would need to have to come back for a conditional use permit at that time.
So essentially, the request tonight is to allow for storage at this location, either indoor and or outdoor?
That's correct.
Okay. Councilmember Brummer.
Normally with outdoor storage, would we ask for more screenage or anything?
Yes, there's a code provision. If you bear with me for one moment here. No, I think you have it up for the other one. Do you have that? Do you have that up from the other one?
Oh, yeah, do you have your staff report? There's the 3 deviations.
Well, I'm not looking for the deviation, but 405.050, what, A3A? Trying to bring up those conditions right now.
Okay, the conditions.
So, the special use standards for building or construction contractor with machinery, equipment, or storage. All storage of machinery and equipment shall be placed in the rear or non-street side corners of the building and be screened from street view, and if adjacent to less intensive zoning districts with an opaque fence between 6 and 8 feet high. Storage areas located further than 300 feet from the street or adjacent properties may not need to provide screening when located in the general business zone. No front or street facing building facade shall be modified to include an overhead door. All All storage of trailers, company vehicles, or other similar equipment may not be located within the required front or street side of the building. And the building or construction contractor land use shall not alter the essential character or negatively impact the building site or surrounding property. So yes, any kind of storage would need to be appropriately screened from view, unless it was 300 feet away from the street, which I don't think this would apply to this property at all, either R.D. Mize or Fifth Street. So yeah, they would have to screen it. And on this property, again, it would be along R.D. Mize, probably along the west property line and along the east property line.
So if they did go to start storing things out there, how do we enforce the screenage? Do we go back to them then, or is that?
If they start doing it, we would tell them you're now, because if it gets denied, they would just fall under office land use. And if they start storing stuff outside, we would say you're no longer just an office land use. You are now a building and construction contractor land use, and you need to get a conditional use permit for that.
So then at that point, would they come back with this exact same thing, or would they come back with the screenage that we're
They would come back with this same thing, and as part of that request, or include how they're going to screen it. Like whether it's gonna be with a fence but that would be part of that conditional use permit request that would come back to city council.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for staff from the council? Okay, is the applicant here, staff? I don't see anybody I don't
No, sir.
recognize, so,
No,
okay.
Mr. Clifton's not
So we
with
got
us
nothing from the applicant. Any comments from the council before I go to the public? Anyone in the audience want to speak in support of this proposal, in opposition to? We'll close the public hearing. Next is introduction and reading of Bill 5311, approving the 500 R.D. Mize offices conditional use permit.
I'll introduce it.
First reading of Bill 5311, an ordinance approving a conditional use permit to allow the building or construction contractor with machinery, equipment, and storage land use in the GB General Business Zoning District located at 500 Northwest R.D. Mize in Blue Springs, Jackson County, Missouri for Clifton R.E. LLC.
Your Honor, move to approve the first reading and proceed to the second reading.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Councilmember Erickson.
Oh, I guess now's the time to say I can't support it because I think
Now's
there's
the
too many
time.
questions, and so I won't be supporting it.
Okay, any further discussion? Councilmember Kaler?
I can't support it either, Your Honor.
Okay.
Well,
Councilmember Edmondson?
it concerns me that they're not here to answer some of these questions, and we've had this before where an applicant doesn't show up, and therefore there's a doubt in our minds, and they get a vote, maybe they should have been here to try to answer some of those questions. And I don't want to put it on the burden on the staff on this part of it. I don't think it's the staff's position to try to fill in for that, and I think you have done a good job as far as answering questions, but it's important that these people that come in for this type of special use be here to answer these questions.
Okay. Any other discussion? All right, with that, all in favor, aye. All opposed, no.
No.
Motion fails on first reading. Okay, next item is another public hearing, the final public hearing. Item number 14 is public hearing on Blue Springs Hy-Vee vacation.
Mayor, the city has one exhibit to enter into the record. City Council information form dated April 15th, 2025 with the following attachments. Staff report with attachments, application with attachments, affidavit of publication, the Examiner on March 29th, 2025, 185-foot notification map, names, addresses of the property owners within 185 feet of the site, copy of letter sent to said property owners, Title IV Land Use Section Blue Springs Code of Ordinance by reference, 2014 Comprehensive Plan by reference, bill approving the vacation, and bill approving the final plat. This is all we have to enter for the record.
Staff, if you'll be sworn in and make your presentation.
I do. All right. Before you this evening is a request for approval of a final plat for a proposed subdivision of the existing Hy-Vee parcels to create 3 separate lots on 8.86 acres of property. The applicant is also requesting approval to vacate a water main easement generally located at 625 Southwest 40 Highway. The existing water main easement is proposed to be vacated from Lot 2A A new 15-foot public water easement will be dedicated with the proposed third plat. The subject property is located within the general business zoning district. The existing land use is supermarket, which is allowed by right in the general business zoning district. There's also an existing land use of service station automotive, which is allowed as a conditional use in GB. A conditional use to allow said use was approved on April 9, 2012 by the Planning Commission. And just to give you guys a little bit of history, as you see, title of the subdivision is Blue Springs Hy-Vee third plat, a minor replat of Lot 1, Blue Springs Hy-Vee second plat, Lot 1. So previously, Hy-Vee second plat was a minor subdivision plat back in 2019, and that was the entire limits here was one lot on one parcel, and then this area in the southwest corner was previously unplatted and was just a parcel. So I just wanted to let you guys know a little history before we get into what we've got proposed tonight. Okay, so the proposed subdivision of the property into 3 separate lots will not affect the existing parking on site. The site already has adequate parking for both the supermarket land use and the service station land use. The existing site has 3 access points, one off of Highway 7 on the western side, one off of Highway 40 in the southwest corner, and then a main entrance off Highway 40 down at the southern end of the property. There's an existing sidewalk along the west side of the property on Highway 7. Generally running through here. There's also an existing sidewalk along the southwest corner of the property along Highway 40. As the site is already developed, existing stormwater management systems are in place. However, given that the existing Hy-Vee parcels are proposed to be subdivided into 3 separate lots, a private 10-foot drainage easement by separate instrument has been proposed to give service from the proposed Lot 3A to the proposed Lot 2A and Lot 1A, as you can see through here. All right. A proposed 20-foot public sanitary sewer easement is proposed on the western side of the property to grant sanitary sewer access from the proposed Lot 3A down to Lot 1A, as you see here in the southwest corner of the property. The plan is compatible with the preliminary plat that was approved on July 26, 2010, while the proposed Blue Springs Hy-Vee third plat is proposing to subdivide 2 existing parcels into 3 separate lots. No other side elements would be affected. So just to go over some of the easements, I know we've already talked about the sewer easement on the sanitary sewer easement on the west, the private drainage easement. Obviously the access and landscape easements will remain. The public utility easement that's already in existence. And then we'll go over the water in a little more detail as we get into the vacation. All right, so let's go on to the vacation. All right. So the applicant is proposing a new public water easement through the proposed final plat, Blue Springs Hy-Vee third plat. Due to the new water easement being dedicated, staff does not anticipate a public loss, as the new easement will surround all the necessary water line infrastructure. The private rights of adjacent property owners will not be impacted by the proposed vacation. A portion of the existing 15-foot public water easement is proposed to be vacated. Another portion of the existing 15-foot public water easement will remain. A new 15-foot public water easement will be dedicated via the proposed final plat, Blue Springs Hy-Vee third plat. This again will ensure that the proposed public water easements will surround all necessary water line infrastructure. The vacation is consistent with the intent and design objectives of the subdivision design standards. Portion of the existing public water main easement will be vacated in a public easement will be dedicated via the plat. The vacation reflects sound planning and urban design principles. Staff does not believe there will be any impact to current and future streets, open spaces, blocks, public utilities, and facilities. And again, a new public water easement will be dedicated with third plat, final plat. And the applicant meets the public interest as it proposes to vacate an existing public water easement while dedicating a new public water easement via the plat. And just briefly to show you all, so the C-store is located on the proposed lot 2A. So the portion that will be vacated is everything from the limits of the C-store eastern property line of proposed lot 2A to the west. Everything east of the proposed lot 2A property line will remain, as it's not part of the C-store of the proposed lot 2A. So this is the proportion to be, this portion's to remain, this portion's to be vacated, and then this is the new proposed water line public easement through here. Staff recommends approval of the final plat application with 5 conditions, and staff recommends approval of the vacation application with two conditions, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Is there any questions for staff from the council? I have a quick one.
Yes, sir.
Would this vacation and relocation of the easement in any way negatively affect future development of Lot 1 if there ever was to be?
No, it would not.
Okay.
The existing location of the easement that's being vacated, the water line was not actually built in that location when the actual construction started out there, and so we have a portion of a water line that doesn't currently have an easement covering it, and so we're vacating an easement that was never used, and we're dedicating an easement over where the utility line was actually built.
Okay, that makes sense. Any other questions for staff? I see somebody from Olson out in the audience. You have an applicant has some information for us. If you could be sworn in, give us your name and address for the record.
Yeah, Brad Sonner with Olson, 7301 West 133rd Street, Overland Park. I do. I'm with Olson. We're here representing Hy-Vee, and staff did an excellent job of explaining both applications. I'll stand for any questions.
Any questions for the applicant from the council? You did a great job, knocked it out of the park. Thanks for being here tonight.
Thanks.
Okay, any comments from the council before I go to the audience? Anyone in the audience like to speak in support of this project? In opposition to, we will close the public hearing.
I'll introduce it, Your Honor.
Next item is introduction and reading of Bill 5312 for the vacation of Blue Springs Hy-Vee. I have an introduction for Councilmember Gaylor.
First reading of Bill 5312, an ordinance approving a vacation to vacate a water main easement generally located at 625 Southwest 40 Highway, Hy-Vee.
Your Honor, move to approve the first reading and proceed to the second.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's not that kind of vacation, Councilmember Gaylor. Any discussion on item 15? See none. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Motion carries. Second reading.
Second reading Bill 5312, an ordinance approving a vacation to vacate a water main easement generally located at 625 Southwest 40 Highway, Hy-Vee.
Your Honor, move to approve the second reading and provide a proper ordinance number.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Councilmember Rowan.
Aye.
Kaler.
Aye.
Tholen.
Aye.
Brummel.
Aye.
Erickson.
Aye.
Edmondson.
Aye.
Mayor Levisay.
Aye.
Carried unanimously and given ordinance number 5414.
Next is item 16, introduction and reading of Bill 5313, approving Blue Springs Hy-Vee final plat.
I'll introduce it, Your Honor.
First reading Bill 5313, an ordinance approving the final plat for Blue Springs Hy-Vee third plat for a proposed subdivision of the existing Hy-Vee lot generally located at 625 Southwest 40 Highway.
Your Honor, move to approve the first reading and proceed to the second.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Motion carries. Second reading.
Second reading Bill 5313, an ordinance approving the final plat for Blue Springs Hy-Vee third plat for a proposed subdivision of the existing Hy-Vee lot generally located at 625 Southwest 40 Highway.
Your Honor, move to approve the second reading and provide a proper ordinance number.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Councilmember Kaler.
Aye.
Tholen.
Aye.
Brummel.
Aye.
Erickson.
Aye.
Edmondson.
Aye.
Rowan.
Aye.
Mayor Levisay.
Aye.
Carried unanimously and given ordinance number 5415.
All right, council, I'm gonna allow you to have a choose your own adventure for the rest of the council meeting tonight. We have next on the agenda a presentation from our city attorney regarding public official liability training. We are at about 2 hours for the meeting tonight. I've been informed from our city attorney it will be about 30 minutes to do this training. We can continue to stay here and finish it this evening, or it's been offered to continue that to another meeting if we so choose.
So moved.
I have a motion from Councilmember Erickson to continue the public liability, yes.
To
Councilmember-
continue, not.
To continue.
Not later today.
Until a date determined by our city attorney in the future.
I will second that one.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. We will continue the presentation of public official liability training. I have no speaker appearance form, so next item is council member comments. Are there any comments from council members about anything upcoming or past? Councilmember Brummel.
I just want to remind everybody of the Green Up the Blue this weekend on Saturday. It's a great event that we had last fall that we got started, and looking forward to a great one this spring.
Yeah, absolutely. That's this weekend, Saturday. Show up at what time? I think 7:30, 8 o'clock? What is it, Mr. Parker?
I think it was 9.
9 o'clock? See, there you go. I'm trying to get you there early so we can get this done.
There you go.
9 o'clock, Green Up the Blue. You can still sign up. Justin won't be there, so.
You'll be there at 6:30?
There is registration on the website, so you can sign up so we can have shirts available for you and just have a good number of counts. So good reminder on that. Any other comments? We have a new council member down there, so I want to say welcome to Councilmember Rowan.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. You did a great job for your first meeting. We didn't break anything, so.
So far.
So far, yeah,
haven't
there's still
adjourned yet.
plenty of time. You got some time. Okay, I have a couple of things. I'm going to go on a limb with this one because I haven't confirmed it. I see Captain Brotherton over there. Is our public safety forum tomorrow night as well as the meeting, or did they move that? See, he doesn't know either. Okay, so I thought our public safety forum was at 6:30 tomorrow after the Public Safety Advisory Board meeting, but there's no one in this room that can confirm that. So I might be lying. I apologize if so, but come out to that. We also have, in addition to Green Up the Blue this weekend, Bida Blue Springs is moving to downtown Blue Springs Saturday night at 4:30. So that's kind of our food truck event that that group has organized, and so that will be the first time it will be downtown. 4th Saturdays moving forward for the warm weather months, and so that will be pretty exciting. I don't think I have anything parks related that I forgot, so anything else for good of the council? We'll accept the motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. We are adjourned.